Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Mr. Mastermarco, I appreciated your comments at the outset about how all too often it's difficult to get economists to agree between various groups. I'm always stunned at the number of times they don't seem to be able to agree with themselves. Since we've been up here today, I've heard now that tax reform won't create jobs, but in the next breath, folks will extol the payroll tax cut, which is designed supposedly to do exactly that. I've heard that we're seeking to increase aggregate demand, and in the next breath suggesting that the Bush-Obama tax cuts expire, which unequivocally will have the exact opposite impact on aggregate demand. What's more frustrating is the number of economists who seem completely able to ignore the real world. It's like we've moved away from Adam Smith's work, this beautiful insight into the real world and human nature and what actually existed outside of these walls, to Samuelson's text, which I read in college, which was, I always wondered if the guy actually ever wandered outside of a classroom. And what leads us to is a situation where today still some of you are arguing that infrastructure spending is the best way to spur adequate demand. Despite the fact that we've tried that and it didn't work. That you're still here today, gentlemen, some of you pushing for an extension to things like unemployment benefits, an extension to the payroll tax cuts, when we already have unequivocal evidence that it didn't work. And I'm just wondering if we haven't learned anything from this most expensive economics lesson that anybody's ever received. We spent $800 billion to try to put exactly what you, Mr. Hanlon, Dr. Stone especially, have extolled here today, and the only possible conclusion you can come to in the real world is that it didn't work. But that's my comment, and here's my question. Dr. Stone, you mentioned something I want to come back and talk to a little bit, which is about the base, broadening the tax base. And here I'm talking about not the size of the income that we have available to tax, but the number of people who are actually participating in that tax base. One of the numbers you hear a lot is that half of the folks in the country who make money, who earn money, don't pay the income tax. I'm just wondering if you think that's fair or needs to be changed.
I'm not sure that the statistic is fair. The high figure that you cite is for a particular period. It's lower in years when the economy is not so weak. But more importantly, people do pay federal taxes. Most people do pay federal taxes. They pay payroll taxes and they pay income taxes. And to simply focus on the income taxes to miss the fact that people are paying taxes.
But the payroll tax, I've always told, since I got my first check when I was 14 or 15 years old, you know, my dad laid out to me, well, this is the income tax and then this is FICA. And what that is that's Social Security, Medicare. Isn't that a segregated fund, supposed to be at least, in theory? When you pay payroll taxes, you are paying for what people perceive to be their own benefits in the future, their Social Security, their Medicare. They're not paying for defense, USDA, food safety. They're not paying for the FAA. They're not paying for the FBI, correct?
The FICA tax goes into the Social Security Trust Fund, but revenues are all mixed together, and spending is all mixed together. It's not as though it's completely segregated. It says this is it's an indication of promises to pay future benefits.
No, and I understand that we raid the trust fund. I understand how that works, and that we buy non-tradable public debt. I understand all that. But the point of the matter is, if you're only paying payroll tax, you're not paying for national defense, are you? I'm what? I'm right?
It's more complicated than that. Nobody's dollar is going to national defense versus going to paying for Medicaid. It's all one pot.
Do you think everybody should pay something towards national defense? Everybody in the country?
I think that people should pay taxes in proportion to their ability to pay, and receive benefits in proportion to how they benefit.
I've heard that before. I heard that before. I read that someplace. It's called "From those according to their abilities to those according to their needs," isn't it?
It's about the system that we've had in the United States for a long time of a progressive tax and benefit system. That's what we have.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Duffy.